Good morning, everyone. How is everybody this Thursday morning? Welcome to our Health Hack Thursday. I am here with my friend Megan Colito, a regenerative health practitioner, herbalist, aromatherapist, and a business owner. For those who does not know who I am, my name is Melissa Patterson, and I am a postpartum holistic health and recovery practitioner. And we are going to talk about why removing whey can be a beneficial for many people's diets, especially from a holistic or functional nutrition perspective. Um, why removing whey may be better for your diet. I know that there's a lot of people who have been told, especially those who like to go workout, fitness, health coach, pro bodybuilders, anyone like that have been told that whey protein is the best way to get your protein into your body and build muscle. However, there are things that can cause several issues, and I'm gonna kind of jot them down and we'll just kind of go over them. So the first thing is digestive sensitivity. Obviously, whey is a dairy derived protein, and many people have digesting it, especially those with lactose intolerance or dairy sensitive, even if it is labeled lactose free, it can still trigger bloating, gas, or discomfort in sensitive individuals. Um, do you have any addition to that, Megan?
Yeah, no, it's literally leftover sludge from making cheese. And there's no better way to put that, but it's, and I don't know if this is something you're going to touch on after, like not only is it leftover sludge from cheese, but it's also toxic to the environment. And so like then we have to question if it's so toxic to the environment, why would we be disposing of it in our bodies? So
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I think because when they add it to protein powders and things like that, it's obviously adds to the what do you call it? The density of the protein powder, but it's actually an additive that's not good for us because it causes inflammation. Obviously, any dairy products can is very inflammatory to our body, especially some people who are very sensitive to it. But for most, we are all pretty sensitive to it because when you think about it, when you eat cheese, drink any type of cow milk, you start feeling gassy or bloated. And that's a sign and symptoms of allergic reaction. And we're told that that's normal, right? But it's not. It's not normal to have these reactions. It's your body crying out, letting you know that, hey, you're putting something that's not working for me. And so your liver and your kidneys are not going to function properly, particularly those with autoimmune conditions, skin issues like acne or eczema, or gut imbalances, and reducing and removing can really lower the systemic inflammation. Um, and then the third is hormonal impact. Whey can actually often comes from like obviously cows treated with hormones and antibiotics. These residues can impact hormonal balance over time, especially important for us women dealing with any hormone related issues like PMS, PCOS, or postpartum imbalances. So it's really, really important to watch out and pay attention. And if it's something that you take on every single day, I mean, no wonder why so many of us women have all these emotional irregulation and bloatiness, and it just becomes part of our life. It's also a mucus production and immune stress. Dairy proteins can really increase mucus production and congestion in some individuals, so potentially stressing the immune system. Sometimes it's frequently considered or have seasonal allergies. Now, cleaner alternatives do exist. There are plant-based or regenerative superfoods-based protein options that are often easier on the gut and packed with phytonutrients, minerals, and fiber. These options support digestion, detoxification, and energy without the side effects many experience from whey protein. So if you're, most products are highly processed and isolated from their original source, stripping away the synergy of nutrients that whole foods naturally provide. And like I was trying to say earlier, they are just an additive to densify the protein, but it's not doing you any good at all. So when I'm helping my clients rebalance their hormones, their lifestyle, it's part of the things that I always make sure like they're not taking on and consuming any longer because it's the number one inflammatory response, which is your bloatiness and gassiness. And then some people have reaction to the whey, which is like rashes, and your skin starts to show the detoxification. From that particular protein. Do you have anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think so, and especially when working with women who are trying to balance hormones, like all of that hormone magic really happens in the liver. And so when we're putting in a protein source that is very hard for the body to break apart, like, yeah, the body can do it. That's great. The body can do it. One of the great things about the body. We give it something and it's going to break it all down and it's going to put it back together into a form that we can utilize. But that's going to have extra stress on the liver and the kidneys and the digestive system, which then impacts the hormones. And like you said, it's not just that the liver is being overburdened and that's where the issue is, but animals are given hormones. I mean, we have 10-year-olds starting their cycles now, which is not normal at all, common, not normal. So like having that out is the only way to regenerate the body. The body is not going to be able to regenerate and for us to be able to let go of these symptoms that we're having with hormonal imbalance if we're constantly making it do a ton of work.
Mhm.
It cannot rest and digest if it's working to pull everything apart and then put it back together in a form that we can take. So it's just definitely something that I have talked to a lot of my clients about. And a lot of people don't know that it is in a lot of states, it is illegal to dump whey. It's illegal to dump it, to compost it. It has to be composted in a certain way to be legal to dump, and it only can be so much. And so, like, we really have to think about what if that, what that's doing to the environment. And then if it's doing it to that environment, how much work are we requesting that our body does to be able to break it all down and
Yeah.
then to put it back together. And when we're speaking on regenerating our bodies, we want to give our bodies the least amount of work to do the things that it needs. And our body is never looking for protein. Our
No.
body's never like, I need protein. Our body is always saying, I need amino acids.
Hmm.
And when we give them amino acids in their simplest form from fruits, from veggies, from clean sources, if the body's able to take that in and then just say, oh, look, now I can rebuild. I don't have to go through the steps of taking this apart and then putting it back together. Like, who wants to do that? Who wants to get something, take it apart, and then put it back together before they can use that? Why not just get it ready to use? And that's what we're talking about with regenerative health is decreasing the load on the liver and the kidneys and making sure that we're not putting things that are acidifying into the body.
Hmm.
The body's going to attempt to buffer this acidity. And our body uses fat to buffer. So those extra pounds that we're holding on to that we can't seem to push past, our body uses calcium to buffer. So like as we're getting older, all those like crinks and like, oh, we joke like I pulled something in my neck. How'd you do it? Oh, I turned the wrong way too quick. Like our body's utilizing our calcium to be able to buffer.
Hmm.
It's using water, and we see that as inflammation. in the body. Like our body has, and cholesterol. We also use cholesterol to buffer. So, like, if there's any issues with any of those things in the body, then whey is something you definitely want out completely.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. As we get older and the less that we pay close attention to what we consume, our body starts to go towards reservoirs, which is why we have osteoporosis and like those
Yes.
fat that just have never gone away. And it just gets more and more because we have to store energy one way or another, and that's where our fat is. And so our body is just storing things that are not good for us because it needs those reservoirs to be able to function properly. And when you're not giving it the right proper nutrients and aminos, you're right, you're going to start having those inflammations, those symptoms, those uncomfortable pain that you just get used to having. And all this, honestly, and it's one of the things that it makes sense to us, and it's super simple to say, but it's there's a lot more work and need guidance to, but it all has to do with what you consume. It all has to do with the resources of food that you get from wherever it is. Even organic is not, the safest anymore. So we have to be very, very diligent on how we advocate for our body and to support it every single day. Unfortunately, that's where we are now in our lifetime, that we have to constantly support our body, and why detoxification is really, really important and parasite cleansing is really important because we are more exposed to a lot of these toxins and these parasites with everyday daily life. And so when we do detox and, have that proper nutrition, we can do it by ourselves. But again, it's one of those things that I always recommend to have somebody guide you through this because even I have somebody that helps me go through what I need to do because we're always going to miss something. And when you're detoxing and cleansing your body, you don't want to miss something because then it's just going to make you feel worse. And that you're not trying to feel worse. You want to feel better. And I have Megan here. I always ask her questions. I'm like, okay, what's next? What do I do? This is what I'm going through. Let's support what I need to be supported. And it's now normalized because you do have to support your liver. You do have to support your kidneys. And going back to like hormones, everything is connected. It's not just a gut brain barrier, but you have the hormone gut brain barrier. They're all connected. And if you are not balancing your hormones, your gut's gonna have to compensate, and the other hormones has to compensate, which causes your brain, which is your emotional response. And then you have emotional irregulation. You're more moody, you're more irritated, and you're more have depressive symptoms where you don't want to do anything and you're lazier. And then inflammations happen, which is why we have, back pains, knee pains, and bloatiness. I think bloating is I think most of everybody has it because of what we consume. And so going back to whey, it doesn't serve your body any good at all. And so getting rid of it is probably going to help tremendously with all the inflammation that's happening to the body. But there again, if you've been consuming it for a whole year or 10 years or 20 years of your life, you have to detoxify that out of your body. And when you start doing that, then you're going to start seeing more symptoms like eczemas or, rashes out of your body because now your liver is working hard to really get rid of that way out of your body completely. Sorry, my cat's going into the trash can. But anyways, yeah, so that's really the logistic of having whey protein in our diet and why it's really not that important. And like you said, going back to, you know, our body's not looking for protein, it's looking for aminos. And the reason why there are plants and fruits and, other sources to really get those aminos so your body doesn't have to work hard to get those amines. You just kind of hand it to them, kind of like babies, you know. We don't give our babies a bunch of things to make it harder for them to, you know, do whatever it is. We give them things to make it easier for them. Like walking, we give our hands. Like we don't just tell them to walk and then they fall on their butt. So we always have to support our body in that way, like it's a baby. So, anyways, I don't know if you wanted to add anything else to that
No,
at
I think
all.
it's, I just think it's important to honor our bodies and what they actually need. And it's so hard with all this information or misinformation that goes around. It's like, but wait, I thought whey was good. Like, why isn't it? Why wouldn't it be? And it's interesting to dig deeper into these and then realize, like, oh, okay. Like, honestly, if I can't throw something on the ground legally, and I definitely don't want to eat it.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. I'm gonna have to look into that. I had no idea that that was like even an environmental issue to have whey being thrown. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
oil, you know. Can't really throw it in to the ground. Why?
Right.
Not good for our environment. So yeah,
Right.
that's interesting. So I have to look into that. I had no idea that's even a thing. So yeah, thank you for that information. But yeah, I wouldn't want to do that either. Let's just pick it off the ground and put it into our body. You know, if it's
Yeah,
not
that sounds way better.
dissolving, right? If it's not dissolving into the earth, then obviously it's not going to start dissolving into our body. And it's just going to sit there and cause havoc into our terrain. And this is, if you want to live happily and better and feeling good, you have to take care of what's going on inside. Even though we don't see it, we're feeling it. And I know everyone is feeling it. There's a lot of people who are feeling pain and, you know, bloats and just chronic symptoms that we just learn to live with. And that's just not how life is supposed to be. So, thank you so much. If you guys have any other questions, please let us know. And until next time, we will get back to you on our Health Hack Thursday. And I hope that everybody has a beautiful day and we'll talk later.